Would you enjoy a free audio and image guided sample of a Viking action and adventure ebook? I will be reading the first 4 of 64 pages of Lightbearer, an epic adventure through Iceland action-packed novella. I will place the link in the description box below to my KDP authors page where you will be able to find the book. If it's already debuted at the time you're watching this, it'll be $1.99 or free if you have KDP Select. If it's not yet debuted at the time you're watching this, it will be available for pre-order for the same amount and the debut date posted. Crash Landing. Cold splashes came from overhead every time the Knarr boat mounted the crest of a wave. Einar the Wise strained as he rowed. The water the Knarr had taken on increased with every wave until the front bow lay submerged. A titan of a wave then made its way to where the front bow lay sinking. Some men screamed, while others shouted, "You fools! Let us face our deaths with courage. Let us not lose our seats in Valhalla." "Come on," Bjorn shouted. "Everyone who can, jump off fast, and let's make our way to the small spare carved boat we're towing." Einar repressed the forceful urge to gasp after plunging in so as to not suck in the frigid water. The force of the overhead wave sucked Einar along with it in the blackness before he drifted up to the surface. He gasped with all his might before reaching out and feeling the reassuring firmness of wood under his hands. The sea began to give a slow but ominous rise as Einar climbed in, and there was the sound of a sword being pulled from its sheath. Bjorn shouted again, "Another wave is coming! Ulfvali, cut the rope that holds us to the Knarr, lest it tow us down with it. Then everyone who's made it, start rowing." Einar took off his heavy soaked coat to row, and the men began to stroke while Bjorn looked over his shoulder at his remaining men. "I can't see through this storm and night except for a strange red glow. I know not where it comes from, but I can tell that there's only 7 of us left. I've already lost 18 of my men before even reaching land." The sea splashed cold again as the carved boat crashed into the top of the wave, and it took on a volume of water. Einar still strained and grunted as he rowed until the wet oar slipped out of his hands and struck him in the face. "Hold on to the fucking oar!" Bjorn yelled as Einar scrambled to grab hold of it. "Let me have a glorious death in battle, not a death sailing just cause some half-man can't row in a storm after what I've just survived." "Do you not answer me? I was trying to grab hold of the oar when you yelled. Ha, us heathen fear degradation but not death. But you Christians who claim to fear neither seem to be afraid of death but immerse yourself in degradation. Is there another man on here who is so shaky to let the oar slip from him?" Einar replied. "Am I the only one on this boat that's brave enough to face the fact we will surely all die? We have lost sight of land in this rain and darkness. Our main vessel just sank and most of the crew is already dead. This small carve is taking on water fast too, and shouldn't last long either. Even if we should make it to land in time, we will crash into it violently with the force of this surf." Ivar flipped his wet blonde hair from hanging over his eyes. "What the bloody hellheim sort of talk is that? We can survive whatever crash this frail surf might cause us to have. Beach sand is soft, and this boat might be small, but it's almost as hard as we are. Well, all of us are hard but you, Einar." Ivar then looked ahead. "We are taking on water fast, but I still say we can make it to land if we row with all our might, and if we end up hitting the shore full force, We can handle that, no problem." "Shut up, fool!" Halvor yelled. "We don't know that the shore is sand. It could be rocks for all we know. Any novice sailor knows that storm surf can wreck the strongest of boats if you're not careful. We really aren't taking on water that fast. Let's take it slow." "How can we know anything about how fast we need to go to reach land before we sink if we don't even know where the shore is?" Einar said. Lightning illuminated the night, and cliffs hundreds of meters in front of them appeared in a flash. A shattering clap of thunder followed before growling sounded from the back of the carve. Rain splattered off the thick tanned wolf hide on Ulfvali's head and against his coarse brown beard as he howled over the thunder. "Thor has shown us the way," he shouted. "Now that Thor has shown us land, we will charge the land like it's a shield wall. We will crash through it. Let's go on ahead." Then he began to stroke with his oar so fast and so hard that it seemed almost inhuman. The other men on board turned their faces as if fearing Ulfvali's gaze more than the storm. "Even if I have to do this all myself, just like the first one through enemy lines in battle." "The berserker has spoken," Bjorn said. "Full speed ahead." The men began to row with all their might, and Einar began chanting as he rowed. "Christ keep me if I live, Christ take me if I die," each with every other stroke. The carved boat drifted over the largest wave yet. A splash, larger than any yet, followed, and the water in the boat became much deeper. "Our rowing is no good," Welch said. "The waves are so much more powerful than our strokes are. We're at their mercy." "We have good reason not to fear," Balder said. "Valhalla is not for those who fear and shake like while looking death in the eye. Just like we're all about to die." Einar's strokes were becoming increasingly shallow and weak, but he continued chanting, "Christ keep me if I live, Christ take me if I die." Strength was leaving his body as heat went from it in the cold beating rain and wind on the churning sea. The winding rhythm of his hands on the oar was the only thing that he could feel. A sudden violent bump came from underneath the carve before a loud crack came from the front as wood flew, and Einar flew forward as he was thrust from the boat. Einar felt solid ground under him as he lay face down, and he opened his eyes to the sight of black sand in his hands. He raised up on his hands and kissed the cross that dangled from his neck, barely noticing the throbbing in his body. To his left, Ivar was just getting up, while the hammer of Thor dangled from his neck. A finger on his left hand was twisted. Ivar grabbed the finger with his other hand and straightened it. He looked at Einar. "Bloody Helheim, nothing like a little pain to make a wild night even wilder. Ha, Christian, maybe you're not as soft as I thought if you're already getting up after that crash. But are you hard enough to survive in Iceland, with its mountains of fire and its beaches of black ash?"